In this video, we're going to highlight a new feature found in Adapt Builder 2020 called Colorization. This tool is used for efficient filtering and sorting of components based on properties and other attributes. Let's explore some of these new options in a multi-story model. And also, for more reference and detail, we can always go to the Help menu, Documentation, and use the New Features supplement for detailed information related to all the new features in Adapt Builder 2020. The Colorize options work hand in hand with the property grid. First, if we go to the visibility ribbon, we can turn off the Colorize using this option here. That disables Colorize. Now we're left with the property grid. We could also turn off the property grid, and we're left with the interface fully extended in the width of the screen. If I go back to property grid and back to Colorize, we're going to go ahead now and take a look at the Colorize options. Now, one thing to note is if you right-click, we can always dock or float the Colorize tab. If I go to a floating tab, I can then move the tab at any location on the. We'll reset that back to docked, again using the right-click option. If we select an object, for example, columns, we have an expandable list of the different properties that can be colorized and grouped and filtered for that particular component. So for columns, we have, for example, section type, material, shape, A and B dimensions separated, A and B consolidated, angle, and so on. There's a few analytical options as well, end releases and usage cases. If I select, for example, the material, the program will colorize the model and show the columns belonging to certain materials. In this case, all the columns are assigned to one material, which is concrete 1. I'll go ahead and deselect that. If I go, for example, to the A dimension, you can see that there are multiple columns shown and their A dimensions. If we wanted to filter and select a particular A dimension, I can go to this list. Let's say I want to select all the columns with the 20-inch A dimension. I can then go to Properties, and the program will sort and filter out only those selected columns in the property grid. One of the nice tools, especially with reference to columns, is the ability, columns and walls, is the ability to look at releases. So in this model, we have several columns, probably more than 100, 200 columns, and we want to know, for example, if we're running a lateral analysis with shear walls, if the columns have been pinned at the ends. So we can go here to the end releases, we can go to the top releases and the bottom releases. This shows us that several of the columns are set to none. In other words, there are no releases created. There's also releases about rotation R and rotation S for the green columns. We could then select the group of columns that are not released. I could go back to the list here under None, and selecting that list in Properties, we could then go and modify the releases for those particular columns. Now at the top of the list, we have several quick access tools. We have the option to expand all. Once we select a component, we can collapse. We can also expand. That will expand also the components that are selectable. We can also refresh and just simply clear the colorization. So this happens for all component types. If we had tendons in a model, for example, this would also list tendons that are active in a model. Now, in order for the list to be updated, for example, I would want to show the tendons in this case, and then I'll go ahead and I'll refresh this list, and the tendons then get added. And then we have selectable options again for colorization of tendons. We can go, for example, the number of strands or several tendons with different strands. And this is a powerful tool for seeing just visually what density of tendons we have in certain regions, for example. We could also go back to single level, and in single level we could do the same thing. We might want to just hone in on one particular level, go to tendon, that will reset in the colorization panel. I'll come back to number of strands here, and we're now colorizing just that one level. We could then select a particular set of tendons, and I can go to that property set and modify the properties. If you have any questions about the new colorization feature in Adapt Builder 2020, please contact us at adaptsupport@risa.com.